Hi everyone, Christy Wimber here, and today I want to encourage us in the area of relational conflict. And how many know nobody has any problems with anybody relationally? This is like, that would be like a dream come true. But the reality is that we live a life around people and we live in relationship. God has created us for relationship with Him and relationship with the people around us. And in that, it is impossible not to have like some conflict as we go through life. But one of the most frustrating things for me as a person, for me as a leader, as a mom, as a whatever, that I think is learning from conflict. Like we should be learning, we should be growing, we should be getting better. And one of the things I've realized is in the church, we're lousy at conflict. Like we either avoid it or we blame everybody. And there's just no healing that comes from that. And I think one of the things in the church that we tend to do is we tend to think, well, if you really loved people, then you allow yourself to be mistreated. That's not what Jesus said. That's not what Jesus modeled. Jesus walked away from, I think it's like 41 different instances where he walked away from people, where he did not let people control them. And I think, even one of the things that I personally have had to learn, really honestly, by the Lord kind of like pulling me aside and say, Christy, there is a difference between loyalty and slavery. Now, let me explain that for a minute, because I think loyalty is a gift. I'm a loyal person. I believe in loyalty. I love when people have that value, because loyalty is something that we should be grateful for. I mean, it is a gift. But if we are not careful, we can use the excuse of loyalty and easily fall into slavery. And how we know the difference is that loyalty always brings us into freedom. Healthy relationships bring us into freedom. Slavery, we feel like we're captivated. We are like in captivity. There's no freedom. There's no voice. That's the fine line. And lots of times we stay loyal to a system or to a relationship out of a false loyalty, which I would call slavery. And one of the things that I've had to learn on so many different levels, because I've never been through conflict where I haven't wanted to do some of it different. I mean, I think that's part of growing. But I have had to learn, just because I have a relational history does not mean that that person has to be a part of my future. Like we have this false obligation. Like relational history shouldn't feel like a future obligation. Our relationships that come into our life, sometimes it's just for a season, and that's okay. Sometimes they're for, longer season, that's okay. Sometimes people come in for a moment, that's okay. Sometimes people come in for a lifetime, and that's okay. And when we have this conflict, we have to realize that the Bible's full of teaching of relational conflict and like how to get along with people. I mean, that's all the Apostle Paul did, was like get along, learn to treat each other well, learn to love each other, accept each other, and stop playing judge, to everybody. And we find where Paul and Barnabas, which is a, fascinating passage in Acts chapter 15, where they had a split, and they had a split because Mark had pulled some stuff earlier, and Barnabas felt like he should be able to go and step back into ministry, and Paul obviously didn't. So they had, and it says a harsh disagreement, but then they went their separate ways. So this is not like anything new. This isn't like revelatory conflict. It's not like some revelation. I mean, this has been going on for centuries. But I think if I could just give you a few things that I think are helpful in relational conflict. One is that when we encounter some conflict relationally, take some time. Like we are so quick to, I got to get on this. And I think we've got to take time to talk to Jesus before we talk to people about what Jesus thinks. Like it's amazing how many things Jesus gets pulled into that are just rubbish. But taking some time, breathe, pray. And second, I would say we got to meet with each other. I mean, that's what the Bible talks about, that we come together and let us reason together. Somebody that won't meet, especially if they're not safe, you need a mediator. You need somebody else like that. There's some accountability. But somebody's just going to talk and not meet and be held accountable. That's not a relationship. They do not deserve actually to be in your life. I'm just going to say it like that. Like people that won't grow up, it's not your responsibility that they grow up. It's your responsibility that you grow up. But the third thing is that after we meet, it doesn't mean that you have to be the best of friends. It doesn't mean that everything has to be the same of what it used to be. It's sort of like, be quick to forgive and then go forward. Like, it's almost like, let's just close our mouths and go forward and choose to love each other, believe the best about each other. I mean, that's a quick sort of, 3 options of how we can handle conflict, but we got to get better at this. And my encouragement to you is, 1, don't let conflict fester, because it just grows into resentment and bitterness. Deal with it in healthy ways. But also, don't stay in relationships and even church, even structures, out of an obligation where it's turned into slavery, because that's not how God operates. God always brings us into freedom, and that includes our relationships, that our relationships in life, in family, in ministry, in church, whatever it is, they should be leading us into wholeness and freedom. And so I hope this is helpful for you today. I hope that you just, kind of take these things and really think about it. And those of you that are having troubles right now, like, pray about it, talk to the Lord about it, get some insight, get some counsel, read Proverbs, because Proverbs is like one of the most helpful books dealing with relational conflict in different ways. All right, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you later.